Welcome back. This is Grammar 2, and in this lesson we're going to talk about independent clauses. Now, if you remember from Grammar 1, we talked about prepositional phrases and how prepositional phrases are used to modify sentences. And in that discussion, we talked to some extent about different kinds of sentences. We're talking about different kinds of sentences in this lesson as well, and we're going to get more refined in how we use sentences, which is the point of the lesson. So, independent and dependent clauses. Remember that the difference between a phrase and a clause is that a phrase does not have a subject and a verb, but that's not true of a clause. A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. There are two kinds of clauses in the English language. One independent clause, the other a dependent clause. And just as the name implies, the dependent clause is the one that does not have a complete subject and a verb. And that's really how you distinguish between independent and dependent clauses. An independent clause must have a complete subject and verb in order to be what we call a simple sentence in English. So there are two kinds of clauses, independent and dependent. And an independent clause expresses a complete idea. It has a complete subject and a complete verb. It is, for all practical purposes, a sentence in and of itself. It's also called, in fact, a simple sentence. And what you see here is a very simple example of that. Many people travel. It has a complete subject and verb. The subject is people. The verb is travel. And the word many just modifies, tells you something about how many people are traveling or will travel. So again, just like in prepositional phrases, you can begin with a very simple sentence and by adding modifiers make that sentence communicate more complex ideas. So independent clauses and simple sentences are the same thing, and that's really all you need to remember. It doesn't matter the terminology, we're talking about the same thing. And if I ask you to give me the definition of an independent clause, that's all you have to give me. An independent clause is a simple sentence. So in this case, many people travel is both a simple sentence and an independent clause. We modify independent clauses by adding adjectives, adverbs, or prepositional phrases, as we saw in the last lesson, that act like adjectives and adverbs. Here's an example of that same very simple sentence, many people travel, expanded by the addition of an adverb. The adverb is frequently. So many people travel frequently. Now we have an idea of when or how those people travel, and we've added information. The sentence is still a simple sentence, but by adding modifiers, we communicate more complex ideas. Here's another example. Same sentence, and in this case, we've added a prepositional phrase. Many people travel on ships and planes. That prepositional phrase, on ships and planes, still modifies the verb travel and tells us something about how or when or where those people might travel. Now the problem in writing is that when we use too many simple sentences, we get no flow. We get a choppy essay or a choppy piece of writing that is difficult to read and doesn't engage the reader. So the problem when you write is not to use too many independent clauses. Here's an example. Many people travel. Some travel frequently. Some travel on ships and planes. Now that choppiness, that sing-song effect, after you've read a paragraph or two paragraphs or even three paragraphs of this, would be very tiresome to read and also not do a good job of communicating what you were trying to communicate. So to avoid the repetition of too many simple sentences, you need to vary the kind of sentences you use. And there are several different variations on the simple sentence in the English language. The first of which, and the most important of which we're going to talk about right now, is the compound sentence. A compound sentence is a sentence that contains two or more independent clauses. Two or more independent clauses. Here's an example. This sentence is a compound sentence, two simple sentences joined by what's called a coordinating conjunction and a comma. You can see that the simple sentences themselves, the ideas they communicate, are still intact, but what we've got here instead of two simple sentences is a better flow. Many people travel and some travel frequently. Now there are two methods for joining independent clauses to create compound sentences. The first of which I've just shown you with the comma and the coordinating conjunction. That coordinating conjunction and not only joins those two independent clauses, it also communicates some relationship between those two independent clauses. Many people travel and some travel frequently. It's adding information to what we know about those people traveling. Now the coordinating conjunctions that we're concerned about here are the 7 that you see listed under the acronym fanboys. You're going to get tested on this stuff. The easiest way to learn those 7 coordinating conjunctions, in fact, is through that acronym. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Fanboys. Each of which communicates a particular idea or relationship between the ideas in a compound sentence. The other way to join two independent clauses is with simply a semicolon. And you see the example here. Same two independent clauses, same two simple sentences, joined with just the semicolon. Many people travel, some travel frequently. Now with all punctuation, the purpose of the semicolon is to get your reader to pause. And so the choice between a coordinating conjunction and a semicolon has to be based partly on what you want to accomplish in terms of having someone read your work. Conjunctions and transitions, in fact, that's what conjunctions are transitions. We use transitions when we write to get us from one point in our writing to the other, to communicate the relationship between ideas, to create that flow that we're trying to accomplish when we write. So successfully joining two simple sentences together to form a compound involves choosing the method that best communicates your ideas. You have to make some decisions about that, have to consider that at least, when you're deciding whether you're going to use a coordinating conjunction or simply join two independent clauses with a semicolon. Each of the coordinating conjunctions communicates a specific relationship between the two independent clauses in a compound sentence. So you have to consider that. The use of the word and, for instance, is an attempt by you to show that you're adding information that's related to that first independent clause. We use the coordinating conjunction but to show comparison. For, to emphasize the proof of what you're saying. Yet, to show exception. So, to conclude or summarize. Each one of those 7 has a specific purpose when it's used in a compound sentence. You can't just slap a comma and a coordinating conjunction between two independent clauses and call it good, because remember that the role of writing, the goal of writing, is to communicate effectively, and that just won't work if you're not considering the relationship between the two simple sentences. Now there's one more method that you can use to join independent clauses. It's a little trickier because the words that are used in communicating, again, are specific, and for that reason have to be considered when you use this particular method. A conjunctive adverb is what we're talking about, and you can use a conjunctive adverb to join an independent clause. You can see the example there. Tim was late for school this morning, semicolon. However, comma, the doctor's excuse he brought in allows him to attend practice. However, again, is another word that we use to show an exception to, and that's the purpose of using it here. But you can see also that what you have to do in using however is follow it with a comma. So the semicolon, the conjunctive adverb, and the comma is the accepted way to do that. Conjunctive adverbs are adverbs that modify the verb in a sentence, but they're always followed by a comma and used to join when used to join independent clauses. There's a group of conjunctive adverbs there at the bottom of the screen. However, there are four. Consequently, also, each one of those communicates a specific idea. It's not a comprehensive list, so it's not, these aren't the only conjunctive adverbs. But again, emphasizing the point, you need to be careful about using these because you have to consider the relationship, what you're trying to accomplish when you do use them. It is impossible, in fact, to use a conjunctive adverb without the semicolon. You could use it as an interrupter, but if you're going to do that, then as an interrupter, that conjunctive adverb has to be preceded and followed by a comma. Conjunctive adverbs can also be used as openers and closers, but in this case we're talking about creating taking two independent clauses to create a compound. Ultimately, that's the test. If you use a conjunctive adverb, do the independent clauses remain intact? So here's another exercise that I'd like you to do to show me that you've gotten something out of this. In your Gmail, you will have received a Google form labeled Grammar2, and what I need you to do then is to take this group of simple sentences and create compound sentences from them. Now if you look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 simple sentences. Logically, if you're going to use two simple sentences to create a compound sentence, that would mean each of the two would become one compound. Remember that in compound sentences, two or more independent clauses, but in the end, the entire paragraph should be compound sentences. So you got to be a little careful about how you do this. This is really a simple exercise. Don't overthink it. Try to keep it simple. All right, so that's independent clauses. Thanks again. Have a good day.